you see a job posting labeled Global Remote or Work from Anywhere. Naturally, it is easy to assume that means anyone, anywhere in the world, is eligible to apply for the role. It is a common belief that a remote job title removes all geographic boundaries. But in the architecture of remote hiring systems, the word anywhere is rarely literal. When you read a remote job description, you are not just reading marketing copy or a wish list of skills. You are looking at a document shaped by legal and structural realities. Job postings often contain regional constraints, wrapped in vague or defensive language. Understanding how to decode this language allows you to see the operational footprint of the role, long before you submit an application. This analytical approach matters for international applicants because the global hiring system is highly structured. Applicants frequently spend hours tailoring their materials for a global role, only to find their application archived or excluded from the normal review queue. When this happens, it is easy to assume your skills were lacking. In some cases, your application may have been routed out by geographic boundaries established before the role ever reached normal candidate review. Employers hedge their terms to manage cross-border compliance, taxation risk, and payroll limitations. To map these constraints, you have to read the posting systematically, looking for two distinct layers of filtering: explicit requirements and implicit signals. The first system layer consists of explicit location filters. These function as structural boundaries for the hiring entity. You will often see direct statements like, remote within Europe, candidates must be located in Canada, or work authorization required in the United Kingdom. These explicit requirements are not arbitrary preferences made by a hiring manager. They represent the strict borders of a company's corporate infrastructure. A company might only have business entities, tax registrations, or payroll systems established in specific jurisdictions. If an enterprise lacks a registered business entity in Brazil, they may not have a compliant pathway to hire a direct employee there without setting up new infrastructure or utilizing a third-party intermediary. Because of this, an explicit location filter acts as a gating condition. It is often configured into the applicant tracking system to route international applicants who fall outside the approved legal jurisdictions away from the primary recruiter queue. When you see an explicit location listed in a remote job ad, it means the legal framework for the role is already locked in. However, many job postings do not feature explicit boundaries. Instead, they operate on the second system layer: implicit location filters. These are subtle indicators within the text that effectively narrow the eligible applicant pool without ever stating a direct geographic requirement. Implicit signals act as secondary screening filters, and they usually manifest in three areas: regional benefits, time zone overlap, and hiring models. The most common implicit filter is regional benefits language. A job ad might headline itself as remote from anywhere, but further down in the benefits section, it lists 401k matching, statutory pension enrollment, or PPO health networks. These are region-specific financial and healthcare wrappers. Their presence often implies that the underlying payroll system is restricted to a single country, or a handful of specific countries, despite the global label at the top of the page. The next implicit filter is operational, time zones. A posting might require overlapping hours with Central European Time, or state that daily engineering stand-ups occur at 9 a.m. Tokyo time. While this is framed as a logistical requirement for real-time collaboration, it functions as a geographic filter. Depending on the employer's workflow, it can systematically deprioritize applicants located in incompatible longitudes. For an employer, time zone requirements are operational constraints that dictate exactly where a candidate can physically reside while maintaining a sustainable work schedule. The final implicit filter involves the legal hiring model itself. Job descriptions that emphasize invoicing, B2B contracts, or mention managing payments through a global payroll partner are signaling an indirect employment pathway. This indicates a platform-mediated or contractor arrangement rather than direct employment. In these scenarios, your eligibility often depends entirely on whether your country is supported by that specific third-party platform's compliance rules. This introduces an entirely different set of geographic filters outside the direct employer's control. To see how these constraints interact, let us look at a standard employer-side example. Imagine a mid-sized software company based in London. They decide to open a global remote developer role. They want to cast a wide net to find the best talent, so they do not explicitly list a country requirement at the top of the job ad. However, deep in the text, the posting mentions 28 days of statutory annual leave and enrollment in a UK pension scheme. What is actually happening on the employer side? The human resources team likely generated this job description using a standard domestic template. The company's legal and finance teams may not have authorized the budget to use a global employer of record platform for this specific department. Therefore, the company can only process payroll and benefits through their existing domestic infrastructure. An applicant from South Africa sees the global remote label and applies. The applicant is highly qualified, but the applicant tracking system may route their profile out of the main queue, or the recruiter issues a rapid rejection based on regional mismatch. The applicant assumes their portfolio was not strong enough. But the reality is entirely structural. The company's back-end infrastructure may not be set up to support a worker based in South Africa, and the implicit clues were hidden in the benefits section the entire time. When you begin reading job postings through this analytical lens, a clear mental model emerges. A remote job posting is not a blank check for global employment. It is a map of an employer's legal and operational constraints. Explicit filters define the strict borders of their established corporate structure. Implicit filters reveal their operational limits, their payroll capabilities, and their reliance on third-party intermediaries. Ambiguity in a posting usually signals the presence of these complex back-end constraints, rather than a lack of interest in international talent. When a rejection occurs, recognizing these signals helps you understand that the misalignment is often structural, not personal. To explore these concepts further and understand how to evaluate job descriptions analytically, you can review our structural breakdown of explicit versus implicit location filters on RemoteWorkNotes. You will find the related article link in the description.